Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane. I'm the director of the Ashland Public Library of Massachusetts, which is in the US, for some of you coming from elsewhere, which is amazing. If you know me at all, you know that Nalini Singh is my very, very favorite writer, and I will do anything to hang out with her. She knows it. It's stalkery, but I can't help it. So we're going to be talking about Archangel's Ascension today. Is it Ascension or Ascension?
Ascension.
Ascension. Okay. Well, last time I talked to you, I kept saying Archangel, so just ignore me, pay attention to her. Anyways, we just want to say before we get started, I'd like to thank the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs, and to Nalini, who let us share this program with other libraries because, when libraries work together, we make magic. So I really appreciate that. You can buy signed books by Nalini from East City Bookshop, and I will put a link to that in the chat as well as in the recap email I'll send out to everybody. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A, which is a button at the bottom of your screen. I know we'll get a lot. I'll try to get to as many as possible, but I have a bunch as well, so we'll see how it goes. We have the hour. We're going to use every single second. And yes, sobbing, sobbing, sobbing. This is a spoiler program. We are going to spoil it. We're going to talk about every single aspect that we can get into. And so be ready for that. And if you have not read Archangel's Ascension, you might want to pop off and watch the recording later. So, Nalini, thank you so much for doing this. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mina. I am really looking forward to our conversation.
Well, first, I have to show everybody this picture of me and Nalini at East City Bookshop a few weeks ago because I am a stalker. I drove down to DC to see you because I just had to do it. And it was a blast. We had such a good time. So, Archangel's Ascension. Okay, no, you do not need an intro. I'm just assuming everybody knows you and also has read Archangel's Ascension. Um, Before we get into the details of it, I have to ask you this because the last time we had a program, we talked about Archangel's Light. And
Mhm.
people just reamed you about Aodhan and Illium not having sex. And you were like the Sphinx. You didn't say a word about the fact that there was going to be a second book. How was that for you to keep that secret?
Um, so it wasn't so much a secret as like I knew there was going to be a second book, but I was still thinking about it, and I really don't like to talk about projects when I'm still in the thinking about phase of how it's going to be and how I'm going to write it, because then people ask me questions about it and I don't want to talk about it. So it was more like, I had to let it go. I just had to protect the actual work. Um, so yeah, I didn't consciously make the decision not to talk about it in terms of keeping a secret from readers or anything. It was just like I need to think about it. I need to think about how it's going to happen. And because of the way I work, sometimes I think something's going to happen in one book, like one book later, and then it happens two books later. So I thought, what if it's a bigger gap, and then everyone's going to be like, no, you promised us this. So yeah, it was just easier to not say anything, and then it'd be like, surprise.
I don't know how that could have been easy for you because people were really, I mean, even in our program, we're very much like that, your characters always have sex. What was it, And so I loved, loved, loved that you just didn't say a word, but, like you just let us suffer until the book came out.
Yeah, I mean, also Archangel's Light. Um, when I began, I expected it to be the normal romance arc, right? Like you see certain things happen, you have the love scenes, you have, there's the progression of a romance. And I think every romance reader knows that, we've all read a lot of books. But when I actually started writing it, I realized it couldn't happen because of these two and where they were coming from and the trauma and all of that. And I was like, it just felt false to crush everything into one book,
Mhm.
which is why I made that call. This is going to have to be two books. And yeah, so basically you can read it. I think you can put these books together, put Light and Ascension together. You can read it as one giant book
Mm-hmm.
because it is one giant book. I just needed a lot of time to write it, so to be split into two. Yeah.
Well, it was wonderful. So at this point, I'm going to ask people in the chat to tell us what scenes did you cry in? Because I understand that Nalini, you cried quite often writing this book.
Yeah,
So what
I
scenes
did.
did you cry for? And I just reread this like in the last 2 days, so I bawled. Like my eyes are probably still a little bit red.
So the the biggest, I mean, there was a lot of tears, but the biggest one was the scene with Illium and Raphael right after the Ascension. That was just, I just was sobbing. Yeah, I just saw someone else write that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, and I still cry when I
Mhm.
read that scene or I think about that scene because I think it's such an emotionally wrenching moment. It's a goodbye, but it's also like he's so proud of him. You know, Raphael is so proud of Ilium, and Ilium has such respect and love for Raphael, and it's just I'm like getting all like teary now because I'm like, no, don't go, but also I'm so proud of you, you know, like it's that tangle of emotions, and I think it was so beautiful because we don't often get scenes like that in books where you see the especially between two warriors, you know. It is an openly emotional moment for both of them as well. And yeah, so we can all cry together now again.
Well, I love that
Yes, Esther, me too. I'm sobbing too.
I think that, Raphael having the glamour and trying to, keep it private for many reasons,
Yeah.
political as well as personal, was so, but I did cry a lot during this book, but a lot because I cry anytime Dimitri and Ingrid are mentioned
Yeah.
every single time. And so for them to basically become grandparents to Nasser's babies and cubs. I just okay, I'm gonna start crying now. So somebody talk.
Yeah, no, it was I've had that scene in mind for such a long time with Nasir and his cubs and Dimitri and Andy and Anna, and it was just I was finally like, I get to write this, I get to write this. I was so excited, and yeah, I love it. It heals my heart a little bit too. Like you said, there's given their past and all they lost, and yeah, I and so I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler for the next book. You will get to see them again, so that'll be nice.
All right, let's just get it out of the way. When is the next book coming? I know
um,
for those that don't know it, it is the last, right?
it is the last book, Archangel's Eternity, which title I've had for years. I have literally wrote it down in my little book. And I don't have a date yet because I am actually a little bit slower in handing it in because I wanted more time with this book to make sure that it is all I want it to be, because it is going to be, the final book. I want to make sure I put everything in it that I want. So it hasn't been officially scheduled yet. um, but next year sometime. Yeah.
But it's written. I think so. I watched Nalini talk uh with EC Bookshop a few weeks ago, so I have a lot of information. But you did say
um,
it's written, you're just having to do edits.
yeah, so the way I work is I do multiple drafts. And so I have like a very good draft. It's well over 100,000 words, but it's not ready yet. It needs a lot more. When I edit, I put a lot of what makes a book, gives it heart, I would say, and it needs. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing that final intense edit, and making sure that we get to see everyone, which which is hard in such a long series. So, that's it, in a way, the goodbye is split over two books. Again, Ascension was part of it. You get to see some people in that one, and you'll get to see some people in eternity, and hopefully together, that will give everyone a sense of, I don't want to say closure, because I feel like these characters go on, right? Like they go on in our imagination, they go on in their lives, they definitely will be going on in my brain. So it's more a sense of, hey, we got to go on this journey with these characters, and we got to the end, and it's really satisfying. It feels good. So yeah.
Well, I mean, we are talking about the Guild Hunter, but I felt the same way about Kiss of Snow and Allegiance of Honor, where they kind of really tied together a lot of like storylines and gave you that sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, hopefully. So I hope people feel that way about these books as well.
Well, I think everybody here will agree that we'll read whatever you write and we won't complain about it. So, except for the whole like not having sex thing, which we will talk about more in a minute. But I want to get to some of these questions. Yasmin and a couple of other people have asked Vivek, Zoe, Elena, Eve, how did you decide who would go into the new territory with Archangel, Illium, and Aodhan?
Whew, honestly, just what felt right. It's hard to say. Like I didn't sort of sit there and say have like a spreadsheet, because I just never have a spreadsheet. So it as I wrote, I started to think, my mind and my heart just made those connections in terms of who is there and who would fit with Illium, who would feel right going there. And I just was like, this just, to borrow Marie Kondo's words, this sparks joy. And, yeah, it just felt right, and then Zoe popping up, and I was like, oh, this is perfect, has to be Zoe. And because of who Illium is and his personality, it had to be people who would fit that personality and the kind of court, even though he doesn't have a court as such, that he was going to set up. And so we are seeing the very beginnings, of the people that are coming to him. And I love that it's fresh and new. And so we get a lot of the younger crew coming in, because this is the opportunity to get in, on the ground floor of an archangel's reign, which it doesn't come very often,
Right.
especially, with a brand new archangel who is relatively young. And yeah, so it was very instinctive. And all the people I put in, I didn't take anybody out. Like, so they were there from the beginning. It just felt right from the beginning. They went in, and yeah.
Well, Illium is so popular across the world. I expected that he would get like people just jumping on it. But what I felt sad, I guess what I felt sad about is that it felt like Raphael was being so giving and losing a lot of people that he really cared for too. Not just, I mean, Illium and Aodhan, of course, but then all of these other people. I mean, poor Elena losing Eve and Zoe at the same time. I was like,
No, I mean, you have to look at it as for Elena and Raphael, there's a lot of pride in that they have helped with the development of all these incredible people who are now flying, because isn't that what you want? If you're mentoring someone, or if you're helping someone as a warrior or whatever, you want them to fly, and so it is like, I think it's a testament to who they are, that they can let them go. That they didn't try to hold anybody back. They didn't say no. Raphael didn't pull rank
no.
on his people. There is such a generosity of love in that group, and I think that just shows how deep it runs. Yeah.
What's the significance of 7 for you? Because now Raphael's going to be the 5 for a little while. And he said to Illium, make your own 7. So is there a significance of that for you?
No, I think when Raphael says make your own 7, it's just a reference to make your own group of people who are like, the 7 were to me. So it's not necessarily that specific number. there are a lot of sevens in the books, but I'll just leave it up to you guys. Whatever you decide.
We'll make
Perhaps
our
to
own
put them.
groupings. I mean, it sounds like Trace is going to become one of Raphael Sevens, but the other thing that somebody mentioned, I don't know if it was in the other talk, was that he doesn't have as many winged members of his seven anymore because two of them just left, of course. So
Yeah.
is that gonna be a hindrance for him if there's, a war?
Not necessarily, because the seven were like his closest people, right? That he grew up with, kind of thing. They all kind of came up together. But there's a lot of others around him that are not necessarily in the seven, but are very, very close to him. And this is not the best example, because he's not in Raphael's court anymore, but he's an example of the kind of people who do surround Raphael, which is Andreas. So
Mm,
he's extremely powerful. He was very close to Raphael, but he wasn't part of the seven. And so there's a lot of people like that around. And I'm using Andreas as an example because you've met him in the books. And obviously, I can't introduce everyone in the books like that. So, but there is a lot more. There's Nimra, who we have met. There are a lot of very powerful angels he can still call on, and so it's not a case of that he is now at a disadvantage.
mhm.
It's just a case of like he has lost people who are his intimates, kind of like that close circle of where it's beyond liege, and beyond your Messiah. It's into like friendship, family territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, he still has a massive number of very powerful angels at
Mhm.
his core. Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say I think that that's your fault that we care so much. You made this seven so tight and with such history, like their backstories were just so amazing that of course we care about them and we want them to be together forever.
Yeah, I think as a writer, I have the temptation too. Like, keep everybody together, don't change anything. And then, but I think when you get that, you have series that stagnate, because sometimes you have to make the difficult calls, right? Like, for growth, you have to make the difficult calls. And yeah, like I think it's Derry just said, no change equals no story. And I think that's true. And particularly for characters who go through multiple books, we want to see change, we want to see growth, we want to see the world as well develop
Mhm.
and grow with them. So these calls have to be made. And I didn't think about this when I started the series. I have grown with these characters as well. I've gone on the journey with them. And so it's really heart-wrenching to think about. I mean, I could have just ended the series that Illium would one day ascend and then we leave them as like a whole. But I felt like that was a cop out. Like, we needed to see this. That's a big thing to happen. And it's gonna, like, we're all talking about it because it is such a massive ripple in this world. It's created so much change. It has altered fundamental elements of Raphael and Elena's life
Mhm.
as well, of course, of Iliam and Arden and Xander and Zoe and Eve and all of these people. So I felt like we really should see it, And of course, the biggest decision was the time jump.
Mhm.
Like, that was a big discussion I had with my editor as well, because I said originally when I was talking about it, it was several books ago, and I said it's gonna go into the future. So how am I ending up writing a futuristic? So it was like trying to balance telling the story, but not shifting the tone of the series so much that it felt like science fiction as opposed to the
Yeah.
Guild Hunter series. So yeah, it's none of these decisions are easy, and I don't think they should be, because I think as a writer, I feel like I want to be emotionally involved
Mhm.
with everything that's going on, and I really was, and I was questioning myself every step of the way in a good way, which is like, why am I doing this? Like, what are we going to see? Like, what is the necessity of this? And yeah.
Mhm. So, just a quick, it's not even grammatical, but like, why did you call today the 700 years in the future? So, like, the chapters that started 700 years in the future were labeled today.
Yeah, because that is today, we did jump. We jumped 700 years. So that is today. It's not like the future that is going to happen. This
Oh.
is what has happened, you know? And yeah, so it was also a way to let readers know that, to help you anchor yourself in the story, so you knew which time was the actual time and which time had passed.
Mhm. What the other time I really, really cried when they talked about Sarah and Deacon and the honor guard for them. That was it was just horrible and wonderful. And
Yeah.
I'm not even talk about it anymore. So let's talk about a couple things that happened in Archangel's Ascension. One is that we learned why Ilium and Aodhan had not had sex in the first book. It was because of trauma, not just like the torture and the kidnapping, but sexual trauma. So was that like in your mind when you were thinking about the next book and how they would progress?
Yeah. So obviously I knew all the history, right? And I initially, when I wrote Light, I did try and write like a love scene in there, and it just felt wrong. It felt wrong. It felt too fast. It felt like I was trying to box them into what we all want. And so I just pulled it, and I thought, you know what? I knew people were going to be mad, but I was like, no, it is what it is. I have to be true to the characters. And I felt like we needed to explore how they got to being intimate, like physically
Mhm.
intimate, because that's like a whole different thing. They are best friends. They're very emotionally intimate from the beginning, and but the physical was going to be a whole different matter because of everything, Arden had gone through, but also what it did to Ilium. I think we often forget, because Ilium is the butterfly. He is the brightness. He is the light. But we find out, he's been impacted so badly by what happened to Arden, and not just to Arden, and all the other stuff that's going on in his has gone on in his life. So yeah, I wanted honestly, the whole book is exploring that. It is the love story. The first book was going from friends to lovers, and then the second story is we are lovers, and then it's like um exploring that relationship and how they got there, and having all the happy bits. I love that scene of them in India, when they have the dance and they're being silly together, and they have that romantic, will you be my wear my amber kind of thing, and I was just like
Amber Revel. It's gonna be everybody.
that's the thing. It's a thing now.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Why was there, I love that Vivek and is it Katarina?
Katerina, yeah.
I confuse her with Catalina and then I get upset. Um, um, was there a reason why they didn't have their own book or their own story that they just became part of this one?
Yeah, so it's interesting because they were never supposed to be so kind of scene stealing in a way. It was always just meant to be like, I felt like with Vivek, he wasn't ready for his own book. I felt like it would be a longer journey for him, because again of his, how he got to be a vampire and all that had gone before. And then suddenly Kat was there, and I was like, okay, what is going on? And I just went with it, and I'm actually really pleased with it, because I feel like doing it this way gave them quite a long period of becoming before we see them together. And I don't know, it just felt right. And I think, and I mean, I'm a series reader myself, so I say this with full knowledge that we want everybody's story. We want full books on everybody. But I think sometimes it's better to see glimpses and to fill in the rest ourselves. And there's a mystery to it. There's a beauty to it. Yeah, and I feel like the pieces we do get of these two, we learn a lot about how they are together and who they are to each other. And again, they will be back. You will see them again in eternity as well. So you will get another little piece of their story.
Will we get to see Jessamy fly?
Hey, I'm doing spoilers for this book, not for the next book. So
I was expecting it in this book.
it will, some things I will leave for yeah, for the future.
Okay, all right, that's fine. There's been a lot of question about Michaela, the sleeping ones from the war. Was there a reason that they were not awakened even after 700 years? I know time is different for archangels, but I was surprised that none of them, of the three, were awake. Michaela, um, Bobby,
Astad,
yeah,
Astad,
and
Babashi.
Bashi.
Um, they just didn't. I didn't consciously sit there and say nobody's going to wake up. It was just like they were very, very badly injured with what happened, and it just time, not enough time has passed. And the thing is, with some of you don't even know if they are actually going to wake up, right? Like, are they actually going to be able to recover from, particularly the ones that were attacked by Li Juan, with what she did in terms of sucking the life force kind of thing and all of that. It's and again, from the very beginning when I wrote this series, I wanted to work in immortal timelines. Like, I I didn't want to work in mortal timelines. So that's part of it, Sometimes people vanish for maybe thousands of years, sometimes for hundreds. And I think with Neha is a good example. Like, she was a big part of the books for a long time, and then she's like, "No, I'm done. I'm
Mhm.
done. Going to sleep. I've had enough." And we don't know when we'll see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She had some trauma. Lots of
yeah.
people want to know about Michaela's child. We did not see him in Ascension.
Well, I will tell you this much. You will see him in the next book. I am literally editing the scene with him in the next book. So that is all I am
Is there
going to
time
say.
jump? Is there time jump? Is he like an adult? Is he like a warrior? Is he like, what's he doing? Tell me.
Well, I mean, there's already been a time jump
Yeah.
from
Oh,
from
that's
when
right.
he was a baby. Yeah. So yeah. So
Are we going to see love interest for Sam and Izzy?
wait and see. Wait
I
and
know you
see.
don't
Wait
like
and
to.
see.
Okay, all right. I'll go back to Ascension. But um, where was I? What happened to oh, everybody wants to know if there's going to be a parasite.
You mean a super parasite?
Super, super parasite.
Who knows? Who knows? Only. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, why didn't we see Marduk's special consort? Because I felt like I need to get to know her.
You will see her. You will see her. You will
Okay,
see her. You
all
will
right.
see her.
But Marduk is one that, like I said in your last talk, you actually mentioned is somebody you'd like to see more of. And so, if even though you end the series, you might write short stories. Is he somebody that you would explore?
Um, Possibly. And the other thing is, I am closing the series. But if I was going to go back to it, I would probably go back to, I guess it would be a prequel. I would do Marduk because I'm just fascinated by him and that time period that he comes from. And so yeah, I feel like he's going to be in my head for a long time. So we shall see. No promises at all, everyone. But yeah, and otherwise, yeah, I think possibly you'll see him in short stories, but you will also see him in Eternity. So I feel like the way you see him in Eternity is like um, another good glimpse of him. So we will, after that, we'll see how things go. And yeah.
I think that because he's the originator of the Legion, for me, he's like super interesting because like how did he create 777 beings that all sort of look like him, sort of, and but are gray?
Yeah, it's he's fascinating. I find him really interesting, and I also like that he's very open about no, there's secret stuff you don't need to know because it's just not from your time. So, which I think is another indication of these immortals. Decisions are made on an immortal timeline, and sometimes they actually make a conscious decision to stop the flow of information forward because of whatever reason, which we don't know.
Mhm.
So yeah.
would you explore some of the other characters that we haven't seen as much of? Like somebody just mentioned Hannah and Elijah. I just think they're the most interesting couple. They've been together for a long time. They're, in some ways a lot like Illium and Aodhan in the artist and the warrior. I don't know. There's so many people you could write about.
Yeah, there's so many people I could do. So at one point I did consider whether I would do like a novella about them. And I suppose that's still a possibility because novellas are a good way to sort of do stories where we get to see more of certain characters. But yeah, at this point, once this timeline closes, I'm not really looking to go back into the timeline for full-length books. So yeah, I know it's really sad, everyone. I am really sad also, but it is a series that will be 2009 to 2026 is how many years is that? I'm not good at maths. 19,
15? I don't know. Somebody else do the math.
17 years.
So,
So some of you have literally grown up with it. So it's a long series, and
yeah.
I think it's good for series to have endings as well, in the sense that you have something completed to read and reread. And yeah, it's sad, but has to be done at some point.
I actually agree with that too, because I think that there's some long running series you're just like, you love the books, but you're like, when will there be an ending? Like, I love Kresley Cole, but when will we have Nyx's book, I don't know if you read her, but Immortals After Dark, it's fabulous story series. But we do have some other questions here, but I do want to ask you about your special news about what you will be writing next year.
Oh yeah, so this is just a possibility. So the Guild Hunter series has been optioned for like TV. So if it goes ahead, so cross all digits, send out all the vibes into the universe. And they have asked me to be one of the screenwriters on it. So if it does go ahead, it would work out perfectly because I will have completed the series, and then I could help. Even if it doesn't go ahead, it's been such a fantastic experience getting to work with people who are really excited about the series and taking it to a visual format. And it's really interesting having discussions with them about how to translate this onto the screen, or how would this work. And it's really fun. So yeah, I'm enjoying every bit of the process, and I'll keep you guys updated as I get information. But usually I don't share too much information about various options, because a lot of them are optioned and then it doesn't go anywhere, and then it's like everyone's sad. But I feel like this team is really excited about it, and also it's gone a little bit further than usual, I suppose. And yeah, so we shall, I'll keep enjoying every step along the way, and have had some cool experiences. I got down to Weta Workshop, which is a big special effects house in New Zealand. They did Lord of the Rings, they do Avatar, all of those. They do massive number of projects, and just having discussions with some of the people that are like, how would you make this look real on the screen, kind of thing. It's really fascinating. So yeah.
Okay,
so hopefully I'll be doing
that. That is amazing, and I can't wait for it. And I will write letters to whoever you need me to make it happen. But I do want to know from the audience here, we are going to fan cast. So I think that Henry Cavill should be Raphael, the big blue eyes, otherworldly chin, jaw, whatever. Who do you think should be Raphael, and who do you think should be Elena? Um, who would you pick, Nalini, if you had a choice?
I am terrible at casting, right? Like, I am terrible at casting because I have such strong visions of what the characters look like in my own head. So I actually am really fascinated by looking at what other people cast, because I'm like, what did you get out of the description I gave you in the book?
Mhm.
Like, what do you like what is it inspired in you? And that's why I actually really like seeing fan art, because fan artists obviously are creating from their own thoughts on how someone would look. So yeah, yeah. So I'm very open to like visual representation. That's I'm not like stuck in, oh, it should be this person, or this is my, I don't, I know a lot of my author friends do like Pinterest boards, or they'll actually do cut out actual, what it's called, like scrapbook type things when they brainstorm a book, and I don't, because my visuals are in my head. Yeah. So I've been looking at some of the comments, and some people are like, no, to Kevin, and some people are like, yes. And I'm like, this is really fascinating.
I just want to meet him. So if Nalini was to invite me to New Zealand for a show, like taping or whatever, I would go. Anyways, yeah. So I think that's really cool. And I think the thing I love about your books that is so unusual in books nowadays, well, historically, is that they're so diverse. There's so much diversity in them. Like I would love to see Zanaya. She's like the way you describe her is just like this deep, dark, almost
Oh,
color. And
tell you, there is she was not an inspiration for Sanaya, but then I saw this model online, and I thought, oh my god, she is so beautiful. And I think I have her name right, is Inokiai.
mm,
And you probably, yeah, Inokiai, someone's just corrected me, yes. I saw her after I had written Zanaya, like, and she was at the Met Gala last year, and she wore this Swarovski glittery bodysuit, and her skin is just breathtaking. And I am just like, wow, like she is Zanaya come to life. Like it's just, that's how I see her, that beauty, it's just extraordinary. And I think for me, diversity is so like natural, because it's like there's so much beauty in the world. And particularly in this series, like I'm writing immortals who span the globe and who are astonishingly beautiful. And so you can have all this beauty that's just everywhere. And writing really diversely gives me so much choice. I'm like, well, beautiful people from here and beautiful people from there.
I think it was one of your side changeling characters that I was like, how many backgrounds does he have? Like I think it was like five, and I was like, and he was just like, he's gorgeous. I think is it Tanique? No, no.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, with the side changing series, it's interesting because they it's part of the canon that the Psy pick for psychic abilities, right? So genetically, they're doing a lot of mixing. They don't really care about race in the way we think of it, because in the Psy changing world, race is like changeling, human, Psy, and so in terms of race as we think of it, they're going to have really mixed up genes, because they are picking for psychic ability. Like they will pick from different corners of the planet. They will pick from various gene lines, because that is what they are interested in. And so it makes sense for them to have very complicated backgrounds. Yeah, that would be fun to cast. If it ever got to it.
I'll help you with that. No problem. I think, well, before we started, while we were still waiting for everybody to get in, I had said something like this TV show or the films will be like sort of Bridgerton with wings. But I realized that you're like ahead of that curve in terms of diversity. Like Julia Quinn wrote her characters, and then the films became allowed for diversity, and people were so upset because they were like, or some people because they were like, that's not how I envision the characters.
Yeah.
But yours can be like anybody in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wrote that from the beginning, because that is the world I live in. We were just before we started, we were talking about how I was born in Fiji, which is multicultural, and then I moved to Auckland, New Zealand, which is sometimes called the center of the Pacific, the capital of the Pacific, because it is such a diverse city. And so I honestly, consciously did not think about it when I wrote diversely. I wrote it because that is my reality, and it just feels right. It feels, this is the world we live in, and this is the world I want to write about. And all of the locations, the major locations in my series, like San Francisco and New York, for example, they are both very diverse cities in real life. So why not in books?
Hmm. I'm going to switch back to Ascension because I have this wonderful question, super inappropriate. Were SparkleBell ever written as top and bottom in their intimate relations? And the reason I ask that question is because although Ilium seems to be more um, assertive in as a warrior, he seems less assertive in their relationship. Like Adon tends to seem to be a little bit more, um, I don't know, forward maybe about. I don't know what that the word is. Alpha.
So I was very careful not to put human terms on who they are to each other.
Mm.
And it's just it's up to you how you see them depending on what we see of their behavior towards each other and how they are, because I felt like I was really trying to push against, again, the boxes we want to put people in because we're mortal, and it's like they have lived uh well, how old are they, like hundreds and hundred thousand years, and it just felt wrong to put such labels on them. So I didn't write them with that in mind at all. I just wrote them as who they are, and I like that you can see why they work so well as best friends and now as lovers, because there's very much a give and take of power. Um, One of them is not stronger than the other. They are heart's mirrors, as somebody just said,
Yes.
and because I think it would be very easy to fall into thinking Arden is the damaged one, and then
Mm.
Ilium is the one who is whole and is kind of saving him. But then you see that actually Ilium's got a lot of damage as well, and Arden's saving him just as much. And that comes through in everything. And it comes through in their intimacy as well. Because we see that, you know, um, what your question started out with, that Adam is maybe a bit more forward, as you said. What's the word? We need another word. But then there's a scene in that shower where Ilium is running late, and he's like, "No, we've got time," kind of thing, And it's like there's this real give and take between the two of them, which assertive. Thank you, Olivia. That is the word we were looking for. Yes, so there is a give and take between them, which I love. I love that they riff off each other, and they it wouldn't work if one was just stronger in everything,
Hmm.
and one was the weaker. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, somebody earlier wrote dominant, and that's the word I was thinking of, but I definitely did not feel like they were like that. Like
No.
it's exactly as you describe it, as if they were equals in every way. But there was a power differential once Ilium ascended.
Yes.
So, do you feel like that was kind of dealt with pretty well? Like I did, I felt like it was. Like I felt like they were really equal in many, many, many ways, throughout the book.
Yeah, I feel like that, because the thing is, if you think about it, it's the same power differential that Elena and Raphael have. It's
Hmm.
even worse with Elena and Raphael, because Elena started off mortal, whereas Arden are actually a really powerful angel. So I made it a point in the series to say that you can have these massive power differentials, but in personal relationships, people decide what their relationship is. For example, Dimitri and Raphael, they are best friends, and Raphael has always been an angel, and Dimitri started off as a mortal farmer, and they were still best friends then. And so, in a relationship that's not political, in a relationship that's a personal relationship, people can decide this is our power dynamic. This
Hmm.
is who we are to each other. And with Ilium and Adam, they started as best friends. From childhood. So yeah,
Some babyhood, really.
yeah,
I mean, some of my favorite scenes that you just, in your books have been about Addie and Blue being babies and causing
yeah,
trouble and, you know, holding Rafa's hand. It's just
yeah,
the imagery is so profound there of like him being that father figure, especially for Blue. And then when we talk about trauma and him being abandoned by, so many people, whether or real or imagined, Raphael was always there for both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of emotional bonds that go through the books and between the different characters. It's part of why I love writing series, because it's not about just about the romance, even though the romance is the central relationship. There are so many friendships and familial bonds, and yeah, it's just I
Mhm.
love it.
So Veronica says that the in the chat that it was fun to read Elena and Raphael talking in this book. And one of the things I noticed about them is that Raphael was so um like stayed when we first met him. And for the first couple few books he was, and he finally loosened up, like really saw him laughing, really saw him engaging with his seven. Maybe in like book 3 or 4. Was that a progression for you as well, where they all became so interconnected by this book?
Yeah, it's so for me it's been very natural. It's like this is what feels right, and that's the whole point of the story. Like we began with an immortal, and he was very much inhuman, and it's about watching him become who he's meant to become, or is he meant to become because of Elena, what happened. And yeah, so
I love it. I mean, and I think Derry says it really well. The evolution of love relationships in general has been done beautifully throughout this book. It's not just the world building, it's the relationship building is what keeps us reading, I think, or at least me, because it's just so, I don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it. I was like, I think I told you this once, is that when you first started writing the Guild Hunter series, I was so mad because I love the Side Changeling series. I love it. And I was just like, now she's not going to have time to write 2 books a year or whatever. And then you made me love the Guild Hunter. Damn you, Nalini. All my money is going towards your books, and I am not mad about it. um, so I wanted to talk a little bit about I said I was going to talk about this earlier about sex through your books, because when in your first books, and especially like in the Side Changeling, those very very like on the page, um you know tab A, slot B, all of that, going on. And it's through the books like I've seen, like it's just less and less. And I mean it's there, but it's not as prominent maybe. I don't know. I'm having trouble with words that aren't like dirty. So is that some progression for you too? Like where, because I know with like Shireen and Titus, they didn't really have sex until like, I don't know, 3 quarters, almost the end of the book. And
I think it's honestly it just depends on the characters, and I don't know, maybe, I mean, you probably see it more than I would, because I am just writing, and it's not a decision I consciously make. But I remember back when I wrote Caressed by Ice, that was like the third book in the Side Changing series. There was one reader, Sheena. She was messaging me through the book. It was quite funny, and then she's like, why are they still not together? Because they did not get together. They didn't have a love scene in that book until 3/4 of the way through the book, because of the history of the characters. And so it really is character dependent, because again, a more recent example is Silver Silence, which has very sexy love scenes, and that's because he's a bear, and it just came out like that he was. And so I feel like it's very character dependent, but again, I don't know. Maybe over the long term, I have changed as a writer and I don't realize it. And I'm making different choices. I don't know, but yeah, I guess I'll leave that up to you. You can decide. Someone can do a dissertation on
I mean,
intimacy in Nalini Singh's books.
I was actually thinking about Riley and Mercy's story because they were
Yeah.
so sexual. I mean, both being, changelings, and then, progression. And I didn't know because, there isn't sex in your mystery books. So I wasn't sure if like you were moving in a different direction.
No. With the mystery books, they are completely mystery, so it's not. There's no reason to have the sex in them unless it's a reason for the mystery storyline. Yeah, no, I haven't made any kind of conscious decision to do that. If I get another Mercy and Riley, they're type couple, then I'm sure there will be flames on the page again.
Because I was like, woo, this one's a hot one. Okay, we have about 9 more minutes, and I want to, I have to ask, so since this is ending and, we know the side changeling hopefully will continue, otherwise we'll all go into mourning, serious mourning. Is there any other sort of series on your horizon?
I have a couple of ideas that I would like to work on, and not sure if it will be series or like a trilogy or even some single books. But yeah, there's lots of ideas that I have like a folder where I put like random chapters that I write that I want to continue, or thoughts about series. And there's one in particular that's really starting to think about a lot. So yeah, there'll be definitely more things coming. When I close out the series, it gives me more breathing room to play with new ideas, new concepts. Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be more stuff coming. Sure.
Are they still paranormal or
Yes, there will be speculative fiction in some way, paranormal, urban fantasy in that area. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a swag shop? I really want to buy, like we were just talking about this poster you have up on your wall. I would like plaster that in my room if I could get it.
So this is actually, I bought this from Tony, the artist, Tony Mara.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy posters from him. So this is obviously light. And I have Elena on the wall in canvas from Archangel's Consort. And then there is, we do actually have a little shop, but we need to update it. The link is on my website, and it just has some, I think at one of the talks I did a few years ago, I was wearing a Dark River sweatshirt. So yeah, there's a few things on there, but we really, if there's a lot of interest, we'll put more things on there.
There's a lot of interest. Apparently, there's some volunteers in the chat as well who would like to, help out if you need it. But I know you do have a lot of help in your life, which is wonderful. I did meet Nalini's sister and mother at East City Bookshop, which was really amazing. Just I can see where you would have like that sense of connection for your characters because it seemed like you had that sense of connection with your family.
Yeah, we have a very tight-knit family, and not just immediate family, but massive, sprawling, huge family, extended family. So yeah, I come by it naturally, writing packs and stuff. Yeah.
Also, being of Indian descent, I'm like, yup. Like we're like a feral pack sometimes, but
yeah. So what Jerry just said, Pacifica family. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so I I am going to switch over to Side Changeling just for a minute because your next book is a Side Changeling book.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming out in July?
Yes, Atonement Sky. Yeah.
Right.
But I also have, remember, the re-release of Slave to Sensation. So I have to, this is a new cover. It's so pretty.
So
that's coming out in June, and then Atonement Sky in July. Yeah.
Okay. And we were just talking in the chat about how many copies of your books that we have. So why not have Slave to Sensation as well?
Yes, get another one. I'm sure your other copy is quite old by now. So
it is. It's quite wrinkled. But I love it. My paper one, my Kindle one, is still holding strong. But yeah. So Atonement Sky is Adam's story. Adam, the wingmaster,
yes,
not wingmaster,
wing leader.
Wing leader.
Yeah.
And it takes us away from, well, I don't want to give any spoilers. It's really good. You should read it in July. It's so good. Just as what you would expect from Nalini. But somebody wanted to know earlier on, how do you write so many books in a year? I mean, you have like 4 out a year sometimes.
Yeah, it's more recently, it's probably three. It's kind of my natural pace, I suppose. I could write more when I was a bit younger. I probably wrote four more regularly, and these days three-ish feels good. Um, I don't know. I think it's part of how I started writing, which was I started writing as a student. You know, first as a high school student, then as a university student. Then I was working in law, and so I had very small periods of time in which to write, and so I got very good at being intensely focused when I'm writing. And it's funny when and this happens to a lot of writers, I've found out, is when I first went full time, I actually was like, I have so much time, and I procrastinated with all of it. I was actually more efficient when I had less time because I would just focus. So it took a while to get back, but I think that early training, you know, because of the way I was writing has helped me maintain. And also these days I try to have a more regular sort of routine so that, you know, I can work I can work a normal work day as opposed to, like, I was quite notorious among my friend group for sending emails at 2 a.m. because I was awake then because such a night owl. So try and be more regular, like a regular person now. But yeah, it's honestly it's more just my natural pace. It feels good, and there's some times where I just compulsively want to write, and then you might get something extra, or I might write more short stories, or I'll write a novella collection. And then the other times I'm just doing my pacing. And then sometimes it also depends on the story. For example, the Side Changeling series is so intricate. There's a lot of continuity, and I'm really obsessive about making sure the continuity is correct. So that actually takes a lot more time to put together. Um, because that's important to me. And but as opposed to if I was writing something brand new, it would take maybe a bit less time because I wouldn't have to worry as much about the continuity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the swag shop. I need a cup with everybody's sigil on it. Williams. I want all of them, with like how they did when was it Antonius when he died and they put their sigil on the I want all of them. Who do I who do I need to talk to about this?
Somebody needs to create them. I mean, I just described them. So
Okay, well, we need the Aodhan in the group to make some pictures for us. But what last question? What is your absolute favorite thing about writing?
my absolute favorite thing about writing is ooh, I love it all actually. I just love telling stories. I love telling stories. I am constantly telling myself stories in my head. I've been doing it since I was a child. I and now I get to tell stories to all of you. So it's fun, you know. I like taking that what if question and going with it, and yeah, just I just enjoy it. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, obviously we do too. I've never, I mean, I've been a romance reader forever, probably since I was about 12. People in the audience, have you been reading forever? Let me know. And yours is the first series that I really felt like it has everything I love. Like it has immediate, like people are loyal to each other. They have each other's backs. They care about each other. They fight, but they come back together. I mean, it's just real that relationship and building. Mwah, mwah.
Thank you. You know, I enjoy it. I love writing series. I think that's my natural leaning, and yeah, it's fun, and I am so appreciative that I've been able to do this for a career for such a long time because it's because of you, of readers, you know, who have come along on the journey. So yeah, keep coming along because you know I have to keep going for a few more decades.
As I said, we've all been saying, just take our money. We'll just give it to you in hopes of the next book. Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, not just for this, but for always responding to my requests and craziness and all of our craziness, really. you're just a really, really special author that I really appreciate.
Thank you, Mina. Thank you so much for this event as well. And thanks everyone who came. It was, and for your questions.
Yeah, lots of great questions. So everybody, happy reading. Remember to pick up Nalini's books in the near future, and send her a note. She answers.
Bye.
Night, everybody.